Hello, everyone. I'm so pleased to be joining today's conversation on behalf of the World Design Organization to share a bit more about what we've witnessed around the broader impact of our World Design Capital program. Your listeners may already be familiar with the recently launched WDC 2026 designation in Frankfurt Rhein-Main, but what they may not know is that this year actually marks the 10th cycle of this program, which WDO has been nurturing for nearly 2 decades. Over that time, 11 cities and regions have been designated, and collectively, this network represents an extraordinary body of knowledge about how design can shape civic systems, economies, and culture. I share that context because World Design Capital is not just a title or a series of design events. It has truly become a value-driven framework for municipalities that are intentionally choosing to place design at the core of how they plan, govern, and innovate. What emerges from each designation is not just programming, which ultimately is truly exceptional, but what materializes is institutional learning, new methodologies, new partnerships, and new ways of working across government, industry, and civil society. One of the most distinctive aspects of the WDC program is its ability to mobilize diverse stakeholders around a shared long-term vision. Each WDC year becomes a catalyst for systemic change, and while the outcomes vary depending on local context, we've consistently seen impact across the following 3 interconnected domains: governance and public administration, economic development, and the strengthening of the creative sectors. For example, in Helsinki, 4 years after its designation, the city created one of the world's first chief design officer roles, embedding design directly into municipal decision-making. That move signaled a cultural shift from design as output to design as governance capacity. We now see other regions, including Frankfurt Rhein-Main, exploring similar structural integration. In Valencia, WDC's legacy is perhaps more evident in the establishment of the Regional Design Foundation, which institutionalizes design expertise within public policy. And in Taipei, which was WDC in 2016, the Taiwanese government spearheaded the development of the City Design Index project, one of the first dedicated efforts to quantify and measure the role of design in urban competitiveness. These examples demonstrate how the knowledge generated through a WDC year becomes embedded into systems that continue delivering long value after the designation concludes. There's also a clear economic impact. World Design Capital functions as both a cultural platform and an economic development strategy, strengthening tourism, attracting investment, and supporting innovation. The most recent impact study from San Diego and Tijuana, who were our first binational designation in 2014, showed more than $104 million in total economic output across the 2 regions. Valencia reported that for every euro invested during the WDC year in 2022, they generated approximately €5.70 in income, alongside hundreds of thousands of visitors and close to 1,000 new jobs. Beyond the metrics, there's also something equally important happening in the strengthening of local creative communities. Designers, universities, cultural institutions, and industry leaders collaborate in new ways during a WDC year, often forming networks and partnerships that persist for years. However, we're not disillusioned by the program. WDC is unapologetically a complex structure involving an ecosystem of formal and informal stakeholders, many of whom do not have a first-hand understanding of why design even matters. The sheer complexity of design as the subject matter poses an immense challenge on its own, understanding that in most cities, apart from the design community itself, citizens as a whole don't have a mature understanding of design, which can be difficult to overcome. That's why for WDCs like Cape Town, the design community expressed a belief that one of the great wins of WDC 2014 was that the way the program democratized design, brought interested parties and practitioners together, and created platforms for networking. For some designers, it was their first time engaging with social design during the WDC year, which opened up new roles in engaging with and supporting non-professionals in their own endeavors. Many talented designers who might have never thought of joining the city's vendor database did so as a result of WDC, and similarly, many public administration officials gained first-hand experience of the design thinking approach. And it is this idea of long-term intersectorial engagement that really ties all of this together when it comes to the value of this program, in that we repeatedly see these impacts extending well beyond the World Design Capital year, 3, 5, 10 years down the line. Of course, policies evolve and institutions change, but that cumulative knowledge across our WDC network of cities continues to grow and is really only now forming a powerful global evidence base for design-led urban development. So at a time when cities are facing complex challenges, from climate adaptation to social fragmentation and economic transition, World Design Capital offers this practical, hopeful, and proven mechanism for urban transformation. It shows us that when design is treated not as decoration, but as infrastructure for decision-making, we can fundamentally improve how communities function and how people experience everyday life.